My people have walked miles under a burning sun for just a drop of water. Today we drill deep into the earth to reclaim our dignity and end this thirst forever.
Imagine a place where the earth splits open under the weight of the sun, where heat doesn't just scorch the land, it breaks it. This is northern Burkina Faso in July 2025. The rivers are long gone. What remains are dry, dusty riverbeds that wind through barren villages like Seno and Yaga. Here the fight for water is relentless. Children, some no older than 6, walk 5 miles or more just to fill a single jerry can. And that water? It's often dirty, dangerous, and unfit to drink. In Kogo, the desperation is so severe that a single liter of water can cost more than a family's entire meal. And this for families already struggling to feed themselves. Burkina Faso has faced water scarcity for decades. Droughts are no longer occasional, they're permanent. Wells dry up faster than they can be dug. When rain does fall, it's too little, too rare, and too late to make a real difference. Yes, the international community has stepped in, offering aid, promising support. But so many of those efforts have faded, leaving behind broken infrastructure and broken promises. The water crisis isn't a looming threat. It's the daily, brutal reality for millions. This is a landlocked country, with no access to oceans and few major rivers. Its geography alone is a challenge, but it's the climate that has turned crisis into catastrophe. In just the past 2 decades, rainfall has dropped by more than 40%. In places like Kaya, Tapoa, and Gorum, the soil no longer sustains life. Crops fail again and again, and with them, the dreams of parents who simply want a future for their children. And as if drought weren't enough, armed groups now weaponize water. They seize wells, steal from ponds, and terrorize entire communities just to control access to this liquid lifeline. In May 2025, 7 entire villages were abandoned, emptied by the violence surrounding water sources. The UN calls it eco-fragility, when environmental collapse fuels human conflict. But in Burkina Faso, there's a simpler word for it: survival theft. And yet, in the middle of this disaster, one man has decided to fight back: President Ibrahim Traoré. He refuses to accept that Burkina Faso's future must be one of thirst and dependency. In June 2025, he launched the most daring water initiative in the country's history. His vision? Drill wells deeper than anyone has ever tried. Some as deep as 1,000 meters, nearly a full kilometer into the earth. These are not symbolic gestures. These are lifelines, cutting into ancient aquifers hidden beneath the Saharan crust, where water has slept undisturbed for millennia. And he isn't waiting for international aid. He's not banking on promises made in Geneva or New York. His boots are in the dust. His eyes are on the drills. In Kaya, the ground now trembles, not from gunfire, but from massive drilling rigs tearing through the earth in a historic act of defiance. For the people of Burkina Faso, water isn't a luxury. It's survival. It's dignity. It's independence. This is more than a development project. It's a national awakening, a refusal to die quietly, a revolution not of guns, but of groundwater. For years, more than $180 million in foreign aid flowed in between 2010 and 2022. Well-meaning, well-funded projects arrived, with drones, with data, with optimism. But they failed. Shallow wells dried up faster than they could be dug. Plastic tanks cracked, dams collapsed, and by 2025, the women of Bulsa were still digging holes with their bare hands beneath a merciless 45-degree sun. The problem? Those solutions were built in offices thousands of miles away. They didn't listen to the people. They didn't respect the land. It wasn't a technical failure, it was a political one. But now change is coming from within. From the red dust of Kaya to the cracked fields of Jibo, hope is rising. Burkina Faso is not asking for rescue. It is reclaiming its right to survive on its own terms. And it's doing it one well at a time. This isn't about profit, it's about survival. And it's about something deeper: dignity, sovereignty, and the right to shape one's own future. Burkina Faso's new water initiative is more than a technical solution. It's a revolution. These ultra-deep wells being drilled across the Sahel aren't just holes in the ground. They're the foundation of a future where Burkinabe communities no longer live at the mercy of drought, aid dependency, or conflict. Each well is a self-sustaining ecosystem. Solar panels, not diesel, power the pumps, harnessing the country's abundant sunlight to deliver clean, consistent water. The infrastructure is secured with protective fencing, and crucially, the water systems are tied directly to irrigation networks that turn dry, cracked earth into fields of green. The results have been nothing short of transformative. For the first time in decades, entire villages now have enough water, not just to drink, but to grow food, make bricks, and build futures. Schools have planted gardens, offering children both fresh meals and hands-on lessons in agriculture. Markets are thriving. Families no longer have to walk miles just to survive. They're finally able to plan, grow, and dream. This isn't charity, it's justice. It's the difference between surviving and living. President Ibrahim Traoré's plan is bold, not just in its engineering, but in its philosophy. For years, Burkina Faso was on the receiving end of shallow solutions and even shallower promises. Foreign agencies with good intentions built short-term wells and projects designed in air-conditioned boardrooms in Brussels, not in the sun-scorched villages of Kaya or Arbenda. Those projects often collapsed, literally. Dams failed, pumps broke, tanks cracked. And when they did, there was no local ownership to maintain or repair them. Traoré is changing that. His wells are not imported. They are built by Burkinabe hands, with Burkinabe knowledge and for Burkinabe futures. Jobs are being created, skills are being developed, ownership is staying local. This is not a temporary fix, it's a long-term shift. And most importantly, the pride that comes with this progress belongs entirely to the people of Burkina Faso. But the road to this transformation hasn't been easy. Drilling to depths of nearly 1,000 meters is a monumental engineering challenge. Beneath the surface lie layers of ancient, unforgiving granite, rock that formed more than 50 million years ago. In towns like Dori, the rigs spark and thunder, tearing into the earth with precision. The drill bits, once imported, are now being manufactured inside Burkina Faso itself. Crews work day and night. Armed security protects the sites. In April 2025, saboteurs tried to halt operations near Arbinda, but they failed. The drills kept turning. The mission pressed on. This is more than engineering. This is a battle against nature, against sabotage, and against hopelessness. And it's being won. Traoré's national water strategy doesn't stop with deep wells. It's a multi-layered, intelligent system designed for every level of society. Smaller villages are receiving traditional wells. Schools are installing rainwater harvesting systems. Farms are adopting micro-irrigation, using diverted runoff to water crops with maximum efficiency. Every drop is accounted for. Every solution is tailored. Every project is rooted in the land and the people. Burkina Faso is building its first national water defense system, a sovereign shield against drought and dependence. And what makes this truly historic is that it's being done without foreign contracts or external control. The message is loud and clear. Technology alone doesn't solve crises. Courage, local knowledge, and political will do. Burkina Faso's greatest asset, it turns out, isn't hidden underground, it's shining above. With over 3,200 hours of sunlight every year, the country is now using that natural gift to power its future. Engineers have installed solar panels next to every new well, making the systems completely independent of costly diesel or fragile electric grids. By May 2025, 164 solar-powered pumps were fully operational in the Centre Nord and Sahel regions, two of the hardest-hit areas. They now deliver over 12,000 cubic meters of clean water every single day. That's water for drinking, water for crops, water for clinics, water for life. No more waiting for water trucks, no more rationing, no more fear. And the sun, once a symbol of burden, is now a partner in progress. This movement is transforming more than landscapes. It's transforming lives. In a country long shaped by scarcity, President Traoré and the people of Burkina Faso are building something radical. A future where water flows, where children stay in school, where families grow food, not just hope, where a nation stands tall, not with a begging bowl, but with its own tools, its own hands, and its own vision. In the town of Yako, something extraordinary is happening. Girls who once spent hours walking long distances under the hot sun to fetch water are now sitting in classrooms, their futures no longer shaped by thirst. In just 3 months, school attendance for girls in Yako has surged by 22%. That single statistic speaks volumes. Water doesn't just quench thirst, it unlocks opportunity. In Kongusi, the story is just as powerful. Farmers who used to scrape by are now growing enough tomatoes to feed their families and sell the surplus in Ouagadougou, the capital. Local markets are growing, incomes are rising, and most importantly, communities are healing. Clean water has also brought something equally vital: health. The once common outbreak of waterborne diseases has sharply declined. For the first time in generations, children are drinking safely. Families are cooking and washing without fear. These are not small changes. These are the foundations of transformation.
This is not about surviving. This is about thriving. Villages are expanding schools. Local markets are staying open longer. Jobs are being created. The people of Burkina Faso are no longer trapped in a daily struggle for basic survival. They are writing a new chapter, one of growth, hope, and self-reliance. In June 2025, near the town of Drought, villagers gathered for what would become a historic moment. At a depth of 800 meters, the drill struck water. Cheers erupted, eyes filled with tears. It wasn't just groundwater that had been discovered, it was proof that change was possible. That moment marked a national awakening. Burkina Faso, once seen only through the lens of scarcity, is now becoming a symbol of possibility. More than 312 ultra-deep wells, some reaching depths of 1,000 meters, have now been completed across the country. Each one is a declaration of independence. We will not beg for our future, they say. We will build it. And the world is watching. Neighboring nations like Mali, Niger, and Chad have begun sending teams to study this model, eager to learn, to replicate, to rise. Because what they see flowing from the ground is more than water. It's a mindset shift, a lesson in dignity, a blueprint for self-reliance. With water comes life, but also business. In pilot regions, yields of staple crops like sorghum and millet have tripled. Cotton fields have turned green again, and plans are underway for local textile factories. Soap, juice, and flour cooperatives are springing up, led by women and youth. A new local economy is being born, vibrant, homegrown, and resilient. Looking ahead, Burkina Faso plans to open a solar-powered data center in Bobo Dioulasso, an audacious step into the digital future. And it's not just ambition, it's execution. Because where water flows, opportunity follows. Electricity, food, health, jobs, and dignity. Even the land is beginning to breathe again. With less strain on rivers and lakes, fish populations are returning. Birds are coming back. This is not a random improvement. It is a carefully orchestrated revival, linking water, economy, and ecology. But the journey is not without danger. Armed groups still threaten this progress, particularly in the east, attempting to destroy wells and infrastructure. But these communities are no longer passive. They are fighting to protect what they've built. Young people, trained and paid by the government, now patrol solar stations and well sites. Their message is clear: this water is our future, and we will defend it. What's happening is not just a technical achievement, it's a cultural shift. It's about pride. It's about ownership. It's about standing tall and saying, "This is ours." And the world is taking notice. Burkina Faso's model is now being hailed as a breakthrough across the Sahel and beyond. Not a miracle, but a replicable formula. Deep wells, solar power, local labor, national pride. The tools were always there. What was needed was the will to dig deeper, not just into the earth, but into the soul of a nation. And that's exactly what President Ibrahim Traoré has done. He isn't chasing global applause. He's not checking boxes for donor satisfaction. He's redefining development. African-led, African-built, African-owned. His project aligns with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, but it reaches far beyond them. It's a bold new vision of what real leadership and sovereignty look like. This is a story of belief, of a leader who dared to drill where no one else would, of communities that refused to give up, of a country that chose to stand up, not with outstretched hands, but with outstretched arms, ready to build, ready to rise. In Bolsa, villagers erupted in cheers as the first pump roared to life. In Yako, children now laugh as they drink freely from clean taps, something once unimaginable. These moments are sacred because they prove something vital. Burkina Faso is not waiting for rain. Burkina Faso is not waiting for rescue. Burkina Faso is creating its own future. And if this nation, scarred by drought, battered by conflict, can rise from the dust and reclaim its destiny, then the question for the rest of us becomes urgent. What's stopping us? This story belongs to Burkina Faso, but its message belongs to the world. If it moves you, share it, speak of it, learn from it, and most importantly, ask yourself, where in your own life or in your own country would you dare to dig deeper? Where will you find your well, your source of strength, of renewal, of hope? Because the greatest wells aren't just buried beneath the earth. They live within the unbreakable spirit of people who refuse to surrender.